James Thomas, Morning Blend. Marie Lu is the number one New York Times best-selling author of the Legend series, the Young Elites trilogy, Batman Nightwalker, and the Warcross series. Known for her dark and intense stories with action-packed plots, Lu delivers again in a brand new novel called Skywalker. Good morning, Marie. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate you joining us on Morning Blend. Uh, You joke that because you were born in 1984, you're perhaps destined to write these fictions. And how does that initial appeal to you?
Yeah, I think it was my fate. I love dystopian. I've always been interested in reading dystopian science fiction. I like that it can illuminate some reality in our world and point a finger at it and call attention to it. And I think that's one of the most important things about dystopia and always found that interesting. And also dystopia is just really tense. It's exciting to read. So I've always gravitated towards it. I'm interested in political systems and society. So when I write, I find all of that going into my books as well.
Now, do you feel that the world today is starting to resemble the dystopian futuristic worlds you've created in your novels?
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time? I think the beginning cut off a little bit.
Okay. Do you feel that the world today is starting to resemble the dystopian futuristic worlds you've created in your novels?
Gosh, yes. I feel like I just write nonfiction these days, honestly. I feel like I'm just dictating what's happening, in our world, especially in the present day. I feel all dystopian, there's really nothing in my books that didn't happen in some respect in history or now. Um, so I'm really just calling attention to bits and pieces of things that have already happened. Skyhunter is full of um, discussions about immigration and xenophobia and imperialism. And these are all ideas that came from our world. All of my books have explored that in some way. Um, Legend, my first trilogy, is is partially based on things that I remember from my childhood in China, things I remember from America, things I remember reading about, in other parts of the world. So it's all reality, just kind of twisted in like a circus mirror, so that we can better see what's wrong.
It does seem like the future is catching up with this with all the subjects you talked about.
I'm so sorry. Could you say that one more time?
I'm sorry, I was talking about, since you were talking about you deal with immigration, xenophobia, imperialism, and a lot of the themes are much a part of the conversation today. I was asking, is the future catching up with us?
It's very much a feature of the book. I wanted to write it to highlight these elements that I think are huge issues for our present day, but also to remind people that there is some optimism to be had. That we are the ones who can make change happen and make sure that our society doesn't go down the path of some of the societies that exist in dystopia. And I want to show that with characters who have control and agency over their lives. So I hope readers get to take that away from the books and know that, you know, these things are happening in reality, but they don't have to happen. There's nothing that says that this has to be our reality. We can change that.
It sounds like your book should have come out a couple of months ago, just in time for voting.
Yeah. I've got my fingers crossed, for what happens in November, but I really, really hope that people get out there and vote.
Wow. So does YA fiction, play a role in inspiring young change makers to make a difference through acts of bravery in their communities?
Yeah, writing YA is very special to me. It's such an it's such a transformative age, I think, where everything feels like it's changing around you and everything is extreme. And I find that coming of age journey just so fascinating to write about. I love meeting young people and writing for young people. I think young people are very inspiring. especially just this generation. You see them out in the streets, marching for their rights, marching for big issues like climate change and gun control. And it's just incredibly inspiring to know that they are taking agency uh, of their lives. And it's also heartbreaking because they don't have to do that. Like, they shouldn't have to do that. They're kids. They should be able to just concentrate on growing up and prom and grades and that kind of thing. But they are tackling these huge issues, and I feel very inspired and honored to write for them.
Speaking about that, you're talking about young people. It seems like this happens almost every other generation because I could go back to the 60s, yeah, I can go back to the 80s, and it seems like we're just repeating everything.
Yeah, it's you. Every movement I feel like has been led by these agents for change, these young people, and you see the same problems pop up over and over again in history, but also that slowly, it's like two steps forward, one step back, two steps forward, one step back, and you just keep pushing, pushing, pushing. And after this generation, there will be another generation, and they will tackle the same things, and they will push it a little bit further. I feel like that's how progress happens. It's this kind of crazy up and down line, and like you said, in the '60s, there was so much happening. There in the '80s, in the '90s, like there, like Black Lives Matter, like these movements had it's always mattered, and we always have to remind people that we have to push this forward. We have to make sure that the next generation doesn't forget that this is a problem, that the things that are wrong with our society um, will happen again if we are not careful. And I love that young people remember that and are taking that into their own hands. And I hope that we can keep pushing it forward every generation.
Speaking of pushing it forward, Marie Lou, I think you're one of those influencers. You're one of those pushers. I think you're one of those leaders through your novels.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to hear. I'm dictating what young people do today. I feel very inspired and honored to be able to write these stories and hope to bring them some comfort um and to push things forward. Yeah, I think we're all trying our best.
I think we are. Mary Lou, thank you so much for joining us on Morning Blend and talking about Skyhunter. But I think more in particular than anything, talking about young people and how change, they have to make change for us and for the future.
Yeah, I hope that young people can come away from this feeling like there is hope and that you can move forward and make some difference in our world. So I hope that's what they take from it.
I hope so too. Thank you again for joining us on Morning Blend.
Thank you so much. Take care and stay safe.
You stay safe too. Stay strong.